Hey, welcome into Talking Fitchburg on this Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. I'm Jeremy Crosby. I hope you're like sitting in front of your computer outside watching Talking Fitchburg right now because it is just gorgeous out there and another warm day tomorrow as well. So I say pick up your laptop and take it outside or your phone or maybe you have a TV outside. I don't know, whatever the case is, enjoy it because March and these type of temperatures don't always go together. So get outside and enjoy it. And we got a great show for you to sit back and relax and enjoy. Get you the headlines. And if you were curious about the top 10 consumer complaints reported to our Department of Ag Trade Consumer Protection, we have all 10 of them. We released the first five last month. We have the second five. I'm like, wait, I can't count. We have those coming up today as well. We're gonna replay our first five, and then you'll hear the second or last of the 10 complaints. We're excited to share that with you. Michael from DATCP is here with that information on a two-part series today. So I got to get going here, and I got things to read when it comes to some job openings here at the city of Fitchburg. We got a few of them. And we'd love you to join Team Fitchburg. Let's get the rundown of this. All right, here we go. Building attendant is a limited term employment for Parks and Recreation, career firefighter, civil engineer intern with Public Works, engineer technician 2 for environmental as part of Public Works, environmental project engineer for Public Works, environmental project engineer part-time position is opened up for Public Works. Groundkeepers, a limited term employment. Parks and Forestry assistant, another limited term employment for Parks and Rec. Planning intern for planning and zoning. Program assistant, a limited term for Parks and Rec. Program coordinator for Parks and Rec. Public Works has Parks and Streets, maintenance worker. This is a full-time position in Public Works street maintenance worker for Public Works, seasonal parks maintenance worker for Public Works, seasonal utility maintenance worker, and finally a tennis instructor, limited term employment with Parks and Rec. All of these jobs are online, fitchburgwi.gov. That's where you go to get yourself registered, get yourself set up for an interview, and we would love you to join Team Fitchburg. Turning our attention to council proposed amendments to the ARPA/TID closure investment plan. The council proposed amendments to the ARPA and TID closure investment plan are now available on the website. They have been posted. Those proposed amendments will be discussed at a committee of the whole, which happened on the 23rd. You can go back and watch that meeting online at fitchburgwi.gov. Just click on Fact TV and search Committee of the Whole, and you'll find that meeting from the 23rd. All of this comes ahead on March 22nd. That's when there'll be a listening or public hearing to kick off the meeting, and then later in that evening, they will be discussing the proposed investment plan and amendments, and then ultimately would vote on that plan. If you need any details on this plan, go to our website, fitchburgwi.gov, for more information. Native plant sale, Plant Day has a plant sale going on. It's Ripple Effects Wisconsin is hosting its annual native plant sale. Order native plants for reduced prices through Tuesday, March 22nd. Pick up plants on Saturday, May 21st, or on Wednesday, May 25th. Pickup dates depend on when you order. Planting native and diverse vegetation is a great way to help lakes help the lakes from your home. Let me say that right. If you want to learn more about this, go to ripple-effects.com/plant-dane-native-plants-program. Guess what? Andrew shares the link for these meetings, for any of our links that we talk about, not necessarily meetings, but whatever the case may be, you'll be able to check that out when we get those posted up online later today. Finally, severe weather season begins soon, and we want to make sure you are prepared. Yes. Are you prepared? Talk to your family about your emergency plans, like know a safe place in your home. Don't forget your pets, and get that emergency kit ready. I've seen a lot from Ready Wisconsin really pushing on getting emergency kits ready. And if you don't have one already, you should really check into doing it. It doesn't take much effort. And once you have it, you are good to go. You just got to keep it updated. I'd say check on a yearly basis at least. All right, that does it for our headlines. Coming up next, our two-part series. We're talking about the top 10 consumer complaints here in Wisconsin. That's coming up next right here on Talking Fitchburg.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and do your part. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit any social gathering. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps.
Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Brandon met a girl on a dating app. He finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving.
She must be a keeper.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Well, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection, it's Laura Sutherland. Laura, welcome back to the show. And it's the most wonderful time of year. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyways. The most wonderful time of year, the top 10 consumer complaint countdown. Am I the only one excited about this?
No, it's very exciting.
And I'm sure because
you
you've had
maybe want to know about how many times people have been exploited, but
well, yeah, I mean, it's not, I guess, not the most wonderful top 10 list, but it also kind of shows people what we're dealing with still on a regular basis. And it's sad that we're going to do the top 5 in this interview. So we're going to start with that. Michael's going to help us with the top 10. But number 1 this year, telemarketing. It's back. No, it never went away. That's the problem. Tell us about these telemarketers and the complaints you received.
That's right. So number 1 is no surprise to anybody. Out of the over 11,000 consumer complaints that we received, telemarketing came in at 2,700. So lots of telemarketing complaints come into the department. And you're right, we sort of made light about the top 10, but this is really important for the department to see what's happening in the state of Wisconsin, how to allocate our resources with education, with enforcement, with investigation. So it is a really important time for us, and we're happy that you're highlighting it for your constituency so people understand what are the big areas of fraud in your community and how can you protect yourself from them. So not surprisingly, telemarketing continues to be the top consumer concern in Wisconsin for 2021. And a lot of these complaints are the ones that you imagine, the unsolicited texts and calls that come into your phone asking you for any number of things, which are trying to part you with your identity and from your money. But there are also those folks who are violating the do not call list. And as we often talk about, these are 2 different groups of people. The folks that are scamming you and sending you fake solicitations to steal your money and your identity are just that. They're scammers, they're fraudulent, and they're trying to steal your money. They're thieves. A lot of the folks that violate the do not call list are trying to sell you something. They have a service or a good that they're trying to sell you. What they haven't done is properly registered on the do not call list to be permitted to call you and solicit you. So those are 2 different things and carry with them 2 different kinds of investigations. And we handle both. So it's a distinction that we like to make, because oftentimes people say, I'm on the do not call list. Why am I continuing to get these calls? Well, that's because scammers, not only do they not care about the do not call list and registering, they don't care about any laws, because they're trying to lie to you about who they are and steal your money. So a requirement to register is not a real deterrent from somebody who's, trying to break into your life and steal your money.
And too, being with COVID, and that's going to throw the numbers off, I'm sure, in the report a little bit this year, but because more people are at home, or more people, do you think the numbers increase, decrease this year because of COVID? How did that play in not only telemarketing, but all of your top 10?
Well, actually, interestingly, it's dropped. This number has dropped for the third year in a row. And that is probably the number of complaints we've gotten. And my guess is that's less of a reflection of people getting fewer calls and more of a reflection of people understanding what these calls are and how to avoid them. And through the efforts of the department and education, and also some of the technology that's out there to screen these calls and prevent people from actually being defrauded. So I think that probably contributes to the number of complaints that have gone down, But what hasn't gone down are the number 2 complaint, which is our landlord-tenant complaints. That remains a critical concern for Wisconsinites, and that comes in at almost 1,700 complaints of the over 11,000 that we have seen in the department.
Yeah, and another, I think, tied potentially to COVID. I would assume that not only, prior to COVID, it was going up regardless, but people were put in tougher situations this year because of COVID in some cases, but in others, it's still a hot button issue. And I think the education, you guys have a pretty strong education piece behind this, but what do we got to do to help mend the issues that are being reported?
Right. We do have a very strong education component to working with folks who have landlord-tenant concerns. In fact, we had more than 100,000 visits to our landlord-tenant consumer resources on our website this year. 65,000 of those visits were to the landlord-tenant COVID FAQ webpage, and 50,000 were to the landlord-tenant guide. So really good resources. And you're correct that COVID brought with it a moratorium on evictions that was brought to the fore questions about how to comply with that. So we got questions from both landlords and tenants and provide resources to both, because as you know, landlords and tenants have rights and responsibilities under Wisconsin's law, and we do what we can to both educate folks, but also mediate those complaints when they can't get them resolved. And when it comes to landlord-tenant, it's important to recognize that a lot of times we can get these resolved at the mediation level. First we encourage tenants to connect with their landlords, see if they can't get it resolved. Sometimes it's a miscommunication. Sometimes just having one-on-one communication can get it resolved. If you can't, you should document that. You should document what your concerns are, how you try to connect with your landlord, and then be in touch with the department with those documents, with that information, to see if they can help you. And oftentimes they can. Of course, where they can't, or where we see issues of what appears to be a pattern of violations of Wisconsin law, we do investigations, and we've had a number of fairly sizable investigations that we've referred to the Department of Justice, one of which is a company called Barada Properties, that the department has filed a number of complaints, has investigated and referred it to the Department of Justice for enforcement, and the Department of Justice did file a complaint. So we sort of do the whole spectrum. We field the questions, do the education, we do the mediation, and where we see appropriate, we refer to the authorities to do some enforcement if that seems like where we need to go.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you explaining it out, because it can be complicated to work through those issues. And I know you guys will continue to do a great job of getting the resources out there to help people mitigate those issues as they do come up. Rounding out the top 3, identity theft, home improvement, and telecommunications. Identity theft on the rise, probably not a big surprise. Home improvement ones too. I'm guessing you're seeing some, a lot of people were doing home improvements the last couple of years, especially. So not surprising there.
Yeah, so home improvement, absolutely. People were at home. Some folks had extra money that they weren't spending on traveling and what have you, and we're looking to do in home improvement. That sort of conflated with or intersected, I should say, with some supply chain challenges. So we did get more complaints around those issues. Not all of which were violations of law, obviously, but some are. We tend to get a fair amount of home improvement complaints where contractors perceivably had not complied with our law, particularly around having a lien waiver, contractual obligations, that kind of thing. And so, certainly when people are pushed out of the workforce, it's not uncommon for contractors to pick up their tools to make extra money, and that can result in contractors that don't know the law and aren't in compliance. So there's a whole lot of reasons that feed into that home improvement number. And then just backtracking a little bit to number 3, identity theft. We're really seeing a rise in these complaints, and that's true nationally. Lots of identity theft complaints. The FTC is reporting significant losses in ID theft around romance scams and cryptocurrency scams. So you are seeing more of this as more and more people are online sharing their identity for school, for shopping, for social media. One of the interesting things that you'll see from some of the FTC numbers on ID theft is that the theft is predominantly in the 18 to 35 age. It's not where the most money is lost, because that's not where the most money is, but more and more 18 to 35-year-olds are finding themselves victims of this fraud. And that's for the reasons I probably said, which is being online, sharing more and more information in all facets of your life. So we have lots of information about how to keep yourself safe from ID theft. We encourage you to visit our website and check that out. We also have a team of folks that if you're experiencing ID theft, it is clear that you are missing money from your banking account, that it's not something you did, or if you have a line of credit that has been opened and you know that someone is using your identity, be in touch with our department. We have some resources and staff that are experts and working in this space and can help you repair your identity and hopefully get your money back.
All right. Well, I appreciate the breakdown. I know we didn't get there's so much to talk about here, and I appreciate you sharing the time. We'll pick up on the other 10 coming up with Michael a little bit later in the month. But for you, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it as always. And we'll check back in with y'all real soon.
Okay. Thanks, Jeremy, for having me.
You bet. Check out the Department of Bank Trade Consumers website for more information and the full breakdown of the top 10 list. We'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be flood next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So. I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life, but how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Department of Bank Trade Consumer Protection, we've got Michael here with us, and he's picking up on our top 10 consumer complaint. Well, their top 10 consumer complaints. We're talking about it, and we're picking up from 5 through 10, or 6. I'm sorry, 6 through 10. We could talk about 5 too, but we'll give you 6 through 10 today. Michael, first off, thank you. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, Jeremy. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Glad you're here, and it's nice to see the list. I guess I look forward to seeing the list every year, kind of see what's trending, because we have you folks on all year round. So it's kind of interesting to see. Hopefully, some of the stuff, the tactics that you've been doing are working, and that's being shown in the numbers. And if new things are on the rise, that's good too. So we know what's going on. So we'll start with number 6, and that's in the medical services. Probably not a surprise in some ways, but it says it's down by 18 complaints, which is sort of surprising in itself. But tell us what you know on number 6.
Yeah, it is a good point that it's down by 18 complaints, considering how much focus and attention has been on the medical care industry the past year. So that also could be attributed to people maybe not going in for certain things. That we've also heard that side of the coin. And for these types of complaints, what's interesting is we really focus on whether billing disputes or misleading representation. And what we try to encourage people to do is pay attention to the bill and really look at what's being charged for. And those are the areas where we're trying to say, okay, if you were charged for it and you didn't get it, that's something we might be able to help out with. And recently, the federal government passed the No Surprise Act, which is going to be a huge tool for consumers and us as well, which adds a little bit more clarity and transparency to this industry.
Yeah, and I think that's been needed for a while. So it'll be good to have that and hopefully help stop some of the miscommunications that are out there related. But good to see it going down. Other things that are going wrong or not surprising, and it kind of rounds out the next 3. We're going to go to the motor vehicle world. Repair, sales, accessory. Oh boy, these probably not surprising. Similar to like your home improvement. Some people had some extra money to do some work, or I don't know, it's just a mixed bag of things. So let's start with the repairs. What do you gathered from repairs?
Yeah, it's a good point, and this hits all aspects of kind of the motor vehicle side of things. And the repair one is interesting, as you've noticed in the past year and a half, motor vehicle car prices have exploded. And so now you have to make that decision. Do you want to fix it or maybe trade it in, get a new one? Well, as those prices go up, you get forced into making repairs. And so what we saw for the number of complaints come in typically focus around whether or not the services that you signed for were actually provided, the misrepresentation on what they said they were going to do, maybe not putting in the parts that they were supposed to, and then the contract requirements. Like anything, they have certain disclaimers that they're supposed to give so that we're aware of what should be done. And not all shops have those disclaimers. So we help out with that.
Yeah, and then you look at the sales. I mean, and like you said, the prices have been just skyrocketing, especially on used vehicles. So probably not a surprise that there's going to be some disputes, even on new vehicles too, being priced, way overpriced or what we think is overpriced. The complaints are there.
Absolutely. We get a lot of the complaints about the advertising or things go wrong. And we work collaboratively with the Department of Transportation on some of these complaints as they have a little bit of authority and help out as well. And what we're focused on is the advertising, but really the misleading sales promotions. Everybody's getting those flyers that say, they won a new car, they won $10,000, and then they go into the dealership and realize you actually didn't win any of that. And now you're listening to a sales pitch. So our goal is to try and make sure there's transparency and a little bit of integrity in those advertisements.
Yeah, it's definitely misleading there. That'd be very upsetting indeed. Next one, interesting. It's cracked the top 10 list for the first time. And again, probably not surprising given the times we're in, but motor vehicle accessories and parts complaints.
Yeah, this is a new one. And it ties in, you mentioned earlier, home improvement. And Laura had talked about not being able to get certain supplies to make those improvements, which led to an uptick in those complaints. While similarly here with vehicles, we've all heard about the chip shortage and inability to get those vehicles off the lot. Well, it wasn't limited to just those. There's a lot of different parts that either weren't available or just couldn't get to the repair shops or dealerships. So those complaints started to roll in because cars were sitting there and able to get fixed.
Yeah, that's a that's a tough one, and still face there. I ran into that problem of just trying to get the part. It's tough times out there, and not surprising that we're seeing some complaints come in. Final one to wrap up the top 10 is entertainment and recreation complaints. I know our family and many families went out there and tried to explore new things and find new ways of entertainment. So probably not surprised, but the number is complaints fall to number 10. I'm trying to read it out as I do this here. It's just interesting to me that this one is in there for complaints.
Well, I think what we're seeing is some residual overflow from some events last year, some things that are still, when we saw a couple upticks and some surges with variants that led to another round of cancellations, which in turn led to probably more complaints coming in. This premiered last year the year before at number 7. It's the first time we'd ever had it in the top 10. And that was because just about everything got canceled. And so some companies either didn't have the money to give the refunds, or there was a delay in getting those out. And I think we're seeing obviously not as much widespread cancellations, but we're still seeing some here and there. So we're working through some of those complaints until things get back on pace and events really happen.
Yeah, and again, probably not a surprise in some fashion, but at least it is going down as again, going with COVID. Interesting enough, to wrap it all up here, this data is important to consumers because?
Well, it gives you, an idea of what's out there, so you have some awareness, but the data also provides resources on where you can go, whether it be our website or even giving us a call to help understand what resources are out there, how we can help, how you can protect yourself, and make sure you're making smart choices in any of these industries.
And that's what it's all about, is that outreach and stuff. And you guys do a great job with it. And I hope some of the numbers reflect some of the work that you have done, good or bad. And you'll keep fighting the good fight for us, which we appreciate, Michael, so much. So thank you so much for your time. If people do want to learn more about those resources that you're referring to, where can they find those?
Yeah, please just go to our website at datcp.wi.gov. We have hundreds of fact sheets out there and a lot of resources to help you educate yourself.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for your help, and glad we could share the information out as we do each and every month.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate the opportunity to share the word.
You bet. We'll check back in with DATCP next month. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.
Como padre, todos los días son un desafío y hay que estar ahí presentes. No importa lo cansado que uno esté, hay que estar ahí presentes para ellos. Cuando los niños aprenden algo nuevo, es ese momento mágico y especial, y creo que presenciar ese momento es mi favorito.
The central and midwestern U.S. averages more than 850 tornadoes each year. And lately, the number of floods has been rising in the region, too. So chances are, there will be more twisters and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are, you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? I'm high. Oh.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show for today. I want to thank Michael from Department of Trade Consumer Protection, going through all of the top 10 consumer complaints. One thing is for certain, you're doing a great job reporting it, and you need to keep reporting it. Make sure you go to DATCP's website to learn more about how you can stay protected and just learn more about the same complaints that were reported. So important. As we wrap up, remember you can stay connected with Fact TV. We're everywhere.